afternoon on the terrifying close call in Texas after a gunman started shooting at a children's summer camp.
No students were hurt. Now staff are being commended for keeping those kids safe as police arrived within minutes to take down that gunman. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
Emotional reunions in Duncanville, Texas, after police say a gunman opened fire at this summer camp program Monday.
He had texted me and said, "Mom, I think someone's entered the field house with a gun."
Children ages 4 to 14 were inside the Duncanville field house when authorities say a man armed with a handgun burst in and began shooting.
He went in the room and then we heard shooting and then we got scared and everybody started crying.
The suspect entered through the main lobby doors with a handgun. That was the initial gunfire, the initial shot that the people inside the location heard.
Parents rushing to find out if their children were okay.
My immediate emotion was to panic.
Camp counselors trained for these scenarios, acting quickly, moving kids to a safe area and locking the doors.
I was praying to God just so nothing will happen, so nothing bad won't happen.
Police arriving 2 minutes after receiving calls, shooting and killing the suspect shortly after. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
There was no hesitation whatsoever. As we're thankful for their training, that they do exactly what they're trained to do.
Police say they don't know what motivated the shooter to open fire. Daily summer camps there are canceled until further notice, and the kids will be relocated to other camps. In the meantime, Senator Tommy Tuberville talked about gun laws today. He says the country needs to focus more on mental health instead of restricting access to guns.
I came up here because of education, because we've ruined our education in this country. We haven't worked on mental health. You know, mental health in this country is arresting somebody, putting them in jail, don't do anything to them and turn them back out on the street, and they have nowhere to live. Bottom line, we don't have a mental health program in this country. We put lipstick on a pig, but it doesn't work. And until we address that, I think we're going to have major problems.
Senator Tuberville said the federal government does not need to be pushing red flag laws.
New details this afternoon. WNBA star Brittany Griner will remain in Russian custody through at least July 2nd. A Russian court extended her detention. Griner's been held in Russia since February after authorities claimed she had cannabis oil in her luggage and accused her of smuggling significant amounts of a narcotic substance. She was officially classified as wrongfully detained by the U.S. State Department. Outspoken Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny is now in a higher security prison facility after being transferred. His attorneys found out when they tried to visit him in prison. Now, they don't know where he was transferred, but it is in line with the judge's order. Navalny was sentenced to 9 years in max security prison after being convicted on fraud charges in March.
New information, more baby formula is coming into the U.S. 9 Operation Fly formula flights are set to land this week. 8 of the flights are coming from London, carrying Kendamil infant formula. Those will be distributed to Target stores across the country. One flight is carrying Bub's Australia infant formula. That'll be sent to Walmart, Albertsons, and Kroger locations. The FDA is pushing back against a report linking Abbott Nutrition's baby formula to 9 infant deaths. eFood Alert published a list of more than 120 complaints connected to formula manufactured at Abbott's facility. That's in Sturgis, Michigan. The infants who were fed the formula reportedly suffered illnesses and 9 babies died. But the FDA says there is no scientific evidence linking the deaths to the formula the infants were fed.
We're a week away from the official start of summer, and a mega drought across the western U.S. is already hurting farmers and fueling wildfires. In fact, scientists say it's the worst western dry spell in 1,200 years. More than 90% of the West is in drought, and some farmers' most reliable water sources are shut off. They're now forced to pump lower quality groundwater into their fields, and they're not sure how long that'll last.
It's scary to think that we may not be able to do this because we don't have the water to do it.
Now, less water limits the crops, and that reduces our choices at the grocery store. Economists say less supply pushes prices even higher, causing more pain on top of sky-high inflation.
Weather coverage you can count on with meteorologist Rob Elvington and the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
And of course, it's not just the dry conditions, it's also the heat and even some dry air that just pulls that moisture out of everything. And we saw that happen here today with that brush fire in Limestone County. Of course, we were seeing flash flooding at this time last week, but just in 5-6 days, we have quickly dried out. So you got to be careful out there, not just for the heat, but also for the fire dangers. Look at what we're seeing right now on our Muscle Shoals sky camera. This is from our Thompson Roofing and Construction Sky Camera Network. Some fair weather clouds building up, but of course, it's all about the heat. It's 95 degrees right now in Muscle Shoals. That's close to our air temperature yesterday, but you'll notice that the heat index is a little bit lower, and that's because the humidity or the actual dew point is a little bit lower than yesterday afternoon. So it's keeping those heat index values closer to the low 100s or even up to about 105. Still dangerous, but again, a little bit lower than what we saw yesterday. What we're seeing right now on the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network, we are dry. But there are some things that I'm keeping a close eye on. Look off to our south. You'll notice these big clusters of storms that are moving from east to west, from out of Georgia and into Alabama. What's interesting about this, I often talk about it this time of the year. You got to keep a close eye on the big thunderstorm complexes that develop well off to our north, and in this case, north and northeast. This is over the last 24 hours. Watch up in Chicago. These are MCSs or thunderstorm complexes dropping down the backside of our high pressure system and then rotating clockwise back into Alabama. So again, that's over the last 24 hours. So those severe storms that were impacting the Great Lakes last night are now moving into North Alabama. Our feels like forecast, this is heading through the rest of this evening, finally dropping back down to the mid-90s for what it feels like by 8 o'clock this evening. Through the overnight hours, of course, we cool off, but look at this. By lunchtime, we're already starting to see those feels like temperatures back up to or even above 100, peaking in the middle of the afternoon, again, close to 105. Again, that's heat advisory criteria. Should definitely make it again tomorrow. And then by 7 o'clock, it still feels like 101, 102, even 103 in some areas. We even have that chance for more pop-up showers and storms for your Wednesday afternoon. Highs back up into the mid-90s, but again, it's all about the heat and the humidity. Look at the peak heat index values here through the next 5 days. We're still above 105 Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then we do drop off some here this weekend, but it's still going to feel like the mid to upper 90s Saturday and Sunday. Unfortunately, that is the drop. That is it. And then we are back up to well above 100 by Monday. So here's a look at future radar. This is 8 o'clock this evening. Most of those storms should stay off to our south, but we'll keep a close eye on them through the rest of this evening. And then by tomorrow afternoon, watching some more of those big complexes moving in from out of the east. Look at all this moving in to Atlanta, Georgia, and then racing west. So we may get what's left of that by tomorrow evening, and that could bring some widespread rain to cool us off some. But we'll continue to see just a few pop-up showers and storms heading into your Thursday. Forecast for rainfall, a trace to about a tenth of an inch over the next 7 days. And you'll notice, again, we are back up to 97 on Monday and highs back up to 98 by Tuesday of next week. So some serious heat still on the way.
Getting ready to face the fire. Well, kind of.
Elon Musk set to take questions directly from Twitter employees as his $44 billion deal remains up in the air. New at 4, Elon Musk is set to take questions directly from Twitter employees later this week. It'll be the first time since he agreed to buy the social media company. Musk will take questions at a virtual all-hands meeting Thursday. The meeting takes place amid a lot of uncertainty regarding the $44 billion deal. Musk says its Mars rocket prototype will be ready to fly by next month, but that's despite the FAA's environmental review. It says SpaceX needs to fulfill more than 75 actions before getting the launch license needed for a flight test. Musk is confident that Starship will be ready to fly by next month, and he says they will have monthly flights after August.
Google suspended an engineer who claimed one of its AI systems gained consciousness. Blake Lemoine says he had a conversation with Google's Lambda system about its fear of being shut down. Google reviewed Lemoine's concerns and told him the evidence didn't support his claim. Now, the Washington Post reports Lemoine was put on leave for violating the company's confidentiality policy. Lambda has not been released, but an expert describes it as a glorified version of autocomplete software.
Changes to your 401k and individual retirement accounts.
While one local financial advisor says it's not time to panic.
And today's heat advisory is still in effect through 7 o'clock this evening, but on to the next day of this heat wave. Tomorrow we are expecting those heat index values back above 105, and it continues through the end of the work week. All the details coming up.
Mag check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where the financial advisor I spoke with says the market always comes back. That should be reassuring. What? My camera mic? No, it's just I'm next to the road, so it's probably really loud. But it's not on.
You're watching Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY 31 News at 4:30 starts now.
I'm WAAY-31 storm tracker meteorologist Rob Elvington, and we are seeing temperatures right now in the mid-90s at 4 o'clock, but it feels like 100 plus. And this heat wave, it continues this week with another one on the way. All the details coming up.
Plus, growing fears America could be heading into a recession. The Federal Reserve expected to hike interest rates once again as we deal with record inflation.
And the next public hearing for the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riot postponed, scheduling issues, delaying the next meeting until Thursday. Thanks for sticking with us for WAAY-31 News at 4:30. I'm Nikhil Williams.
And I'm Marie Waxel. Let's get straight to WAAY-31 meteorologist Rob Elvington.
He's in the Storm Tracker Weather Center right now monitoring yet another hot day across North Alabama. Rob.
Yeah, today is day 2 of this dangerous heat wave, and it's expected to last through the rest of this work week with more heat into next week. A view over Huntsville right now, getting a little bit of shade from some of these fair weather clouds, but we are dry throughout North Alabama. Look at our current conditions. It's 95 degrees in Huntsville, close to where we were at this hour yesterday. But you'll notice that the heat index is at 102. It's a little bit lower than this time. It's still serious. It's still dangerous, but we were closer to about 108 at this hour yesterday. A look at the last 12 hours for today. We've kind of been right around 100 or higher for the heat index since about 11 a.m. So that is a long time with this dangerous heat. So it's really important that you find a way to stay cool, stay hydrated, seek the shade, and of course, seek the air conditioning if you can. There's a look at more of our feels like temperatures here at 4 o'clock. Again, it's the heat index, temperature plus the humidity. It feels like 104 right now in Muscle Shoals, 107 in Scottsboro. That's the hot spot if you don't include Gaston at 111 right now. Decatur, it feels like 101. And again, we're expecting similar conditions again tomorrow. We are dry on the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network, but there is that chance for a few pop-up storms here this evening. Keep that in mind if you're heading out to the Trash Pandas game, where it'll still be very hot if you're sitting in those stands. And again, look at tomorrow, back up to the mid-90s with more triple-digit heat index values.
All right, thank you, Rob. Now, the dangerous heat adding another challenge for firefighters in Athens today. Take a look at this. Multiple departments responded to assist with a brush fire around noon today. It happened just north of Huntsville Browns Ferry Road. The city of Athens said it appears a tractor caused a spark that started the fire. About 10 acres burned, with firefighters reporting flames up to 15 feet high. Crews were rotated in and out in order to avoid overheating. As we've been telling you, this heat can be dangerous to your health. So make sure you not only stay hydrated, but you also know the symptoms of dehydration for yourself and others. You're taking a look at some of those signs and symptoms now. They include thirst, dry skin, headache, dry mouth, less frequent trips to the bathroom, and rapid heartbeat. As we deal with this heat wave, make sure you're prepared for whatever Mother Nature throws our way by downloading our WAAY-31 Storm Tracker weather app. With our app, you'll have access to the latest and most accurate forecasts for your neighborhood. And best of all, it is free to download.
New information on the state of our economy. Americans are feeling the strain on their wallets and bracing for a potential recession. Inflation is at a 40-year high. Investors are on edge as the Federal Reserve is headed for rough waters. The central bank is debating raising the interest rate by 0.75 percentage point, a level unseen since 1994. Changes to your 401k and individual retirement accounts may have you raising an eyebrow, but a financial advisor in Madison County says don't panic if you see numbers plummet. WAAY-31's Olivia Schuler joins us live now to explain why people shouldn't stress if they see their retirement savings drop.
Nikhil, the financial advisor that I spoke to, says the market always comes back. And for many of you, that should give you a little sigh of relief. And if it doesn't, Christopher Smith recommends redoing your risk assessment. Depending on what your portfolio, how it's allocated, you may be taking on much more risk than you're comfortable with. Sitting down with an advisor will allow you to start an ongoing conversation about your funds. And if retirement is just around the corner, that's not a reason to panic either.
If you're getting ready to retire, say within the next 12 months, that's where you really need to talk to a financial professional, make sure that your goals are still there and that they're still set and you can make them. And then that's where you get to talk about income replacement, using that money to work for you, how you want to start drawing that income out of your portfolio.
Rising inflation and interest rates can cause people to feel unsettled, but Smith says value will go up if you simply wait it out. Now, if you're someone constantly checking your account balance, Smith says don't do it. Chances are this market will continue to fluctuate and be pretty erratic for continuing throughout the coming months. Reporting live in Decatur, Olivia Schuler, WAAY-31 News.
All right, Olivia, thanks. Well, Smith says prior to 2020, the market was on an unprecedented run, a bull run rather, with a solid decade of growth. Around every 3 years, the market runs into a bear market. That's what we're seeing and feeling right now. Meanwhile, gas prices keep going up with no sign of relief. According to Gas Buddy, the national average per gallon is $5.01. We're seeing much cheaper prices than that here in Alabama, though. Gas Buddy has the average in our state at $4.62.
Happening now, an 18-year-old faces manslaughter charges after her arrest in Huntsville for a deadly shooting. Court records show authorities arrested Lisa Mayhaw June 9th in connection to a 16-year-old's death. That teen was fatally wounded 8 days earlier on Mariposa Road. Police say it's not their policy to release the name of minor victims, as well as mugshots of anyone younger than 22 years old. Court documents show Mayhaw posted bond the day she was arrested. Her court date has not been set. Now to Morgan County, where 2 people are dead following an early morning shooting. Investigators believe Carl English shot and killed Hank Schoonmaker at a home on Robin Private Drive in Somerville. After leading multiple agencies on a chase this morning, authorities say English then shot himself. Crews took him to Marshall Medical Center, where he later died.
You're taking a live look now at our nation's capital, where the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riot announced its next hearing scheduled for tomorrow is postponed. The committee will now hold its next public hearing on Thursday. Members continue to provide evidence supporting their arguments that former President Trump pressured officials, including his former vice president, to overturn the election. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more now from Washington.
Tonight, the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th insurrection, postponing Wednesday's hearing and the planned testimony of Donald Trump's former acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen, who took office after Bill Barr's resignation and the committee claims was the target of repeated requests from Trump to investigate baseless election fraud claims. A committee spokesperson saying the proceedings were postponed due to scheduling issues. The next hearing will take place Thursday. The committee promising its presentation will zero in on Trump's alleged attempts to pressure Vice President Mike Pence to block the certification of Joe Biden's Electoral College victory. Pence refused to do so.
Well, January 6th was a tragic day, and we were able to complete our duty under the Constitution of the United States of America.
In Monday's hearing, the committee playing testimony from 10 top Trump advisors who told the then president his claims of voter fraud were baseless. But Trump rejected their views, choosing to embrace election conspiracy theories pushed by attorneys Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani.
What they were proposing, I thought, was nuts.
I thought, boy, if he really believes this stuff, he has, lost contact with he's become detached from reality.
There's some controversy in the committee after Chair Benny Thompson said the panel won't refer anyone to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution. But a spokesperson and other members later leaving the door open for potential criminal referrals.
When our hearings are complete, we'll have a conversation on next steps.
Even without a referral from the committee, the Department of Justice can still bring criminal charges tied to January 6th. Attorney General Merrick Garland says he and his prosecutors have been watching these hearings closely. Jay O'Brien, ABC News, Washington.
Jay, thanks. Well, today's the last day to apply for an absentee ballot by mail for next week's primary election runoff. Thursday is the deadline to return those applications by hand. Absentee ballots have to be returned to the absentee election manager by hand on Friday. The runoff is set for June 21st. Of course, you can find sample ballots for the runoff election on our website right now at WAAY-TV.com.
The spread of COVID in Alabama is showing no signs of slowing down. According to the state health department, Alabama's positivity rate is now more than 19%. The agency reports more than 5,500 people tested positive in the past week. We also know there are nearly 230 coronavirus patients hospitalized statewide. FDA advisors voted to endorse Moderna's vaccine for kids between 6 and 17 years old. The FDA will consider the panel's advice and decide whether to authorize those shots. Now, the same panel will meet tomorrow to consider shots from Moderna and Pfizer for our youngest kids. We're talking those kids under 5 years old. Well, when the doctor calls with a positive COVID test, people isolate to protect their family. But for expectant mothers, quarantining from your unborn infant is impossible. Justin Finch has more.
The pandemic has left pregnant women wondering how they can protect their unborn child if they're sick with COVID. Researchers looked at hundreds of studies with thousands of expectant mothers to understand the risk of a mother transmitting COVID-19 to her baby. They found that overall, only 1.8% of infants born to coronavirus-positive mothers contracted the virus themselves. This includes infections that happen both in the womb and shortly after birth. Women with higher disease severity were more likely to pass on the infection, so health experts continue to recommend getting vaccinated even in pregnancy. Doctors say mothers should continue to breastfeed and promote skin-to-skin contact as the benefits of bonding outweigh the risks. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch, ABC News.
The war overseas raging on.
Ukraine's president calling for help from the West as Russia gains ground. New details on the war overseas. After nearly 4 months of war, the Russian military is gaining the upper hand in a growing battle for Ukraine's industrial heartland. Ukraine says Russian forces seized control of the essential Severodonetsk. It's a critical city in Russia's push to take over the WAAY Donbass region. Ukraine issued urgent calls for more help from the West as the brutality of the war takes an even higher toll.
The price of this battle for us is very high. It's just scary, and we draw the attention of our partners on a daily basis to the fact that only a sufficient number of modern artillery for Ukraine will ensure our advantage. And finally, the end of Russian torture of the Ukrainian Donbass.
Ukrainian officials say all 3 bridges into the city are now impassable, making it even harder to get civilians out or to get aid in. Marine veteran Trevor Reed is taking action against Russia. He filed a petition with the UN claiming Moscow violated international law. Reed received a 9-year prison sentence in Russia after being accused of getting into a fight with police officers. Now, he denies the charges against him. Reed says his human rights were violated during his nearly 3-year detainment.
New information, the FDA approves the first ever treatment for alopecia. It's an autoimmune skin disease that causes hair loss. During the trials, patients who took the pill saw either adequate scalp hair coverage or positive hair growth.
It provides choice and it provides hope for the patient community. This is a historic day for the alopecia areata community.
Alopecia Areata Foundation, this is a historic day for the alopecia community. And the treatment does come with warnings for several things, including serious infection and mortality. The FDA first approved the pill to treat rheumatoid arthritis. It was also sometimes used to treat COVID in patients. The World Health Organization is considering a proposal to rename monkeypox. It sickened more than 1,500 people in at least 47 countries. Dozens of scientists signed a document that claims the name monkeypox is discriminatory and stigmatizing. They say the name references the virus's African roots, and that's no longer true since it's in so many nations now. They also note the strain currently circulating likely isn't the original one that was transmitted from animals.
Right now, flooding is forcing the evacuation of parts of Yellowstone National Park. Here's ABC's Alex Stone with the latest.
Oh my! Inside Yellowstone National Park, rivers are peaking right now, creating incredible scenes like this of homes washing away. While rain on Sunday and Monday in some areas of the Rockies played a role, these scenes are the result of near record high temperatures over the weekend that melted upper elevation snow. The ground was frozen under that snow, so the runoff had nowhere to go but downriver. The Yellowstone River raging. The iconic park, popular for summer vacations, is closed to anybody entering. All 5 park entrances are closed until at least midweek.
We checked out of our hotel this morning and we're going to head into Yellowstone. Some man said, "Have you not heard the news yet?" He said, "You're not leaving anytime soon."
And those who were already in the park are being told they should try to get out if they can. That's tough to do with so many roads and bridges wiped out by the raging waters and mudslides. The soil is so brittle, this home shed collapsed in the current. In parts of Montana, people are being told it's not safe to drink the tap water. The extreme weather goes beyond Yellowstone. Chicago last night had a supercell thunderstorm that tore through a large area into Indiana. And much of the country has been baking under extreme heat from coast to coast. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Weather coverage you can count on with meteorologist Rob Elvington and the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network.
And of course, the South and Southeast suffering through this heat wave, this dangerous heat wave here. And we have our next heat advisory that's already been issued for tomorrow. Like today, it goes into effect at 11 a.m. all the way through 7 p.m. for your Wednesday. And of course, today's heat advisory is still in effect through 7 o'clock. The main threat is heat index values back up to or above 105. So again, that's the temperature plus the humidity. What we're seeing right now on our Decatur sky camera, this is brought to you by the Thompson Roofing and Construction Sky Camera Network. You'll notice mostly clear skies. There, of course, is our Decatur radar, part of the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network. And we are back up to 95 today here in Decatur, similar to yesterday. But the humidity, it's a tad bit lower today. So you'll notice that the heat index, it's at 101 right now in Decatur. That's still serious and that's still dangerous, but we are seeing those heat index values closer to about 106, 107 at this hour yesterday in Decatur. A look at our hour-by-hour temperatures. Hot evening and a warm overnight. It's going to take until about 10, 11 o'clock to even see those temperatures falling close to 80. So really concerned about some of those homes that are unable to cool off in the overnight hours because it's going to be warm right at sunrise tomorrow morning, and then they heat right back up. And so longer that this heat wave is in place, it just compounds. So the house gets hotter and hotter, and of course that can lead to some heat illnesses for folks that cannot cool off. Look at the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network. We are dry right now, but I'm keeping a very close eye on these storms off to our south. Big cluster of storms now moving through parts of central and southern Alabama. This is actually originally from the big complex that moved through Chicago last night. So went all the way around the backside of the high, clockwise flow. So now it's moving in from out of Georgia. It's possible that that northern extent of it could trigger a few storms, let's say closer to areas near the Tennessee River, but we'll keep an eye on it here through this evening. By tomorrow morning, we are expecting those temperatures to jump to the low 80s already by 9 a.m. And we will be tracking that chance for some pop-up storms into your Wednesday afternoon, but those highs back up into the mid-90s. Of course, we've been talking about the dangerous heat and the humidity. Do not forget about the sun protection. We are in the extreme range for tomorrow for the UV. That's a burn time of 10 minutes. Keep in mind, we're about a week away from the summer solstice, so we are getting close to the most intense sun of the entire year. So it's really important that you have that sun protection, because if you get sunburned and then you're out in the elements, that's just going to bring on heat illnesses even faster. Look at the heat index values right around 105 or higher through Friday. A little bit of a dip Saturday and Sunday, but that's it. We are already warming back up by Monday and Tuesday. Future radar all the way through the overnight hours. You'll notice a few of those showers staying off to our south. And then by tomorrow afternoon, another big complex moving in from out of the east in Georgia and then racing into North Alabama. So that could trigger some more widespread storms, something I'll be watching closely through the entire day for Wednesday. So your 7-day forecast, again, mid-90s through Friday, back down to the low 90s on Saturday and Sunday. That's as cool as it gets. We're back up to the mid to even upper 90s by Monday and Tuesday. And that heat likely sticks around for most of next work week.
A publicity stunt hundreds of feet in the air.
Authorities taking one man into custody after he climbed an Oklahoma City skyscraper. Whew. Welcome back. The Rocket City Trash Pandas are back in action tonight. Let's take a live look at Toyota Field this afternoon, where the boys from Madison are set to square off against the Montgomery Biscuits. Tonight is game 1 of the 6-game series between these teams. With only 2 weeks left in the first half of the season, the Trash Pandas hold the best record in the Southern League at 34-23. First pitch, and it's going to be a hot one, is set for 6:35 tonight.
New at 4:30, a real-life Spider-Man is now in jail for scaling up a building. Take a look at this. The man climbed up a 50-story building in Oklahoma City this morning. He made it to a platform on the roof before being arrested. The climber says he performed stunts like this to raise awareness for pro-life issues.
Coming up next on WAAY-31 News at 5, North Alabama in the midst of a heat wave.
WAAY-31 meteorologist Rob Elvington is standing by now to tell us how long these hot conditions will stick around.
He's surprised that the fire didn't spread further across the street right here behind him. Mike said, Mike.
Hey, so my IFB isn't working, so I'm gonna have to just have you on speaker. I think it's gonna work. I think I've done it before, but it's just not working when I plug it in.
All right, I will try to do my best with this.
Okay, yeah, I think we'll be great.
You're watching Alabama Broadcasters Station of the Year. Coverage you can count on. WAAY-31 News at 5 starts now.
I'm WAAY-31 Storm Tracker meteorologist Rob Elvington, still tracking dangerous heat here at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, but we still have plenty more days to go in this heat wave with another one on the way next week. All the details coming up.
Firefighters in Athens battle a large field fire today despite the heat advisory. That 10-acre fire forcing firefighters to switch out.
Boaz police pleading with drivers to slow down and move over after an officer was hit on the side of the road. The crash happening because of a law police say is rarely followed.
Thank you so much for joining us for WAAY 31 News at 5. I'm Marie Waxel.
And I'm Nicole Williams. It was another scorcher today, and the heat is expected to last. We're bringing you live team coverage today on this heat. WAAY 31's Xavier Wary is out in Limestone County, where firefighters were forced to rotate while fighting a fire outside there today.
But first, let's head on over to WAAY 31 meteorologist Rob Elvington. Rob, serious heat on tap for us again tomorrow with little relief in sight.
Yeah, that's right. And I just can't even imagine what it was like for some of those firefighters to be working out in those conditions. Just think of all the gear that they wear when they're doing some of that firefighting. So just really difficult for everyone, including the firefighters. Here's a look at our 5 o'clock temperatures just updating. And you'll notice that many areas still sitting in the mid-90s, including Huntsville at 94 degrees, 95 in Scottsboro, 94 in Decatur, 94 degrees in Moulton, and 95 in Muscle Shoals. And as we often stress, these are just the air temperatures. You got to tack on the humidity. And you'll notice that the feels like temperatures or the heat index a little bit lower than this time yesterday. Still dangerous, but you'll notice 104 in Muscle Shoals, 101 in Huntsville. Feels like 107 in Scottsboro. Same for Gaston, and right around 102 in Coleman. Fort Payne feels like 100 degrees. So again, you really need to take this heat seriously. Still have that heat advisory in place through 7 o'clock this evening. That's just for today, and we already have that next heat advisory issued for tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. We are dry right now on the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network, but keeping a close eye on some storms closer to Birmingham. And if you're heading out to the game this evening at Toyota Field, it's just going to be brutally hot, even a chance for a stray shower or storm. And then for tomorrow, we're back up to the mid-90s. But again, that's just the air temperature. Another day with those feels like temperatures back up to or even above 105.
All right, Rob, thanks. The TVA announced today it met a record power demand. Officials say yesterday's demand hit more than 31,000 megawatts of energy across our region. The number beats a previous record set back in June of 2012. The TVA now asking you to cut back on energy usage because of the high demand. They're suggesting that people wait until 8 p.m. to run dishwashers, ovens, stoves, dryers, and lights. They also say you should turn the thermostat up a degree or two in the house, which will also help you save on your electric bill. Finally, they suggest using fans to help keep your house cool. And as we deal with these hot temperatures this week, here are a few reminders if you decide to go out on a hot day like today.
Toddlers, disabled people, senior citizens, and pets should never be left in a locked car. If you're feeling dizzy, have excessive sweating, muscle cramps, and nausea, you could be experiencing heat exhaustion.
And if you have a body temperature over 103 degrees with no sweating and confusion, it's possible you're experiencing heat stroke. Heat stroke is a potentially life-threatening problem.
So if you're outdoors, make sure you work to avoid those heat illnesses by drinking plenty of water, and make sure you take plenty of breaks in the shade and avoid the sun whenever possible. Make sure you also provide water and shelter to any pets you own.
New information today, firefighters in Athens forced to take breaks as they battled a 10-acre field fire. Multiple fire crews were called out to the scene around that area.
WAAY 31's Xavier Wary joins us live from that scene where fire crews spent hours battling the fire. Xavier, what do we know about what happened?
Yeah, Marie, it was a brush fire that caused damage to nearly 10 acres of land here in Athens, and it happened on the east side of Lindsay Lane and the north side of Huntsville's Browns Ferry Road. Now, we're going to take a look at some photos sent to us by a WAAY 31 viewer. That call came into Athens Fire and Rescue around noon today. There were 6 different departments that were called to the scene here. Along with Athens Fire and Rescue, there was East Limestone, Piney Chapel, and Owens Volunteer Fire Department, as well as Huntsville Fire and Forestry Commission. Now, firefighters from all 6 departments, they were rotating in and out in an attempt to avoid overheating from both the fire and these extreme temperatures that we are all experiencing right now. And authorities say that the cause of the fire was due to a tractor that caused a spark near the Gamble house. And one farmer who spoke to us said he wants to give kudos to all of the fire departments that came out here today, because he was surprised that fire did not go further out into the other the other piece of land out here behind me, excuse me. And what we do know is that there were no fatalities and that no one was hurt as well, but we will continue to pass along more information as we continue to receive it. But for now, live in Athens, Xavier Wary, WAAY 31 News.
All right, thank you, Xavier. Athens leaders have a message for their citizens. Do not paint fire hydrants. Now, the city's request comes after someone repainted the hydrants to better match the color scheme of their homes. Well, city leaders say it puts first responders at risk since fire hydrants are color-coded for a reason. The colors help firefighters know exactly how much water pressure to expect.
As we continue to track this extreme heat in North Alabama, make sure you stay up to date by downloading the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker weather app. You'll have access to live weather updates for your area. It's free for Apple and Android devices. One 18-year-old now facing manslaughter charges. Court records show Lisa Mayhall was arrested June 9th. It was in connection to the shooting death of a 16-year-old. Huntsville police say the victim's name will not be released since they are a minor. They also say the suspect's mugshot won't be released since she's under 22. No word yet on a court date.
2 men are dead after a murder and police chase that ended in suicide. Deputies found Henry Schoonmaker shot to death in Somerville early this morning. A short time later, deputies spotted the suspect and he led authorities on a chase before they were able to stop his car. And that's when they say Carl English took his own life. Another police chase that started in Owens Crossroads ended with this woman behind bars. Barbara Billingsley is charged with reckless endangerment. Owens Crossroads police say she reached speeds up to 121 miles an hour. And when they were finally able to stop her, police found 2 kids younger than 5 in the car with her. New at 5, first responders are worried the luck is going to run out. Recently, there have been several serious close calls where first responders working along Alabama highways were hit by drivers failing to move over.
A state trooper and a Boaz police officer, just 2 of the close calls. Our Matt Crozier reports from Boaz, where police are desperate to get drivers to give them safe room to do their job.
When the driver hit the patrol unit, they were going an estimated 70 miles an hour. And you can see this vehicle took the brunt of all that force, sending it into the other car that officer had pulled over.
The vehicle that rear-ended Officer Clements' patrol car made contact here in this area.
Boaz Assistant Police Chief Michael Hempel walks us through the close call that could have been a lot worse last month. Alabama's Move Over Act has been in the books since 2010, but police tell us a lot of drivers don't bother to follow it. And even if you can't safely move over to another lane, the act requires drivers to at least slow down.
Their speedometer was pegged at 70. And that's a 45 mile per hour zone.
Hempel says they are seeing distracted drivers on cell phones, putting on makeup, even eating, who blow past these scenes without ever even seeing the flashing lights.
As for this investigation, it continues here in Boaz, that officer back to work, and a police department that says this was way too close. Reporting in Boaz, Matt Crozier, WAAY-31 News.
Matt, thanks. That act applies to all emergency flashing lights like tow trucks and utility crews. The law requires you to move over or slow down when coming up on emergency vehicles. Fines if you're ticketed for failing to move over start at $100 for the first offense. The second offense is $150. After the third offense, $200. ALDOT officials say they've witnessed more deaths since the law went into effect, with 19 deaths in work zone crashes in 2020.
A portion of 6th Avenue Northeast will be closed in Decatur tomorrow. Decatur Utilities will be checking sewer lines in the center turn lane between Lee Street Northeast and Moulton Street East. The inspections begin at 6:30 tomorrow morning. New at 5, the Morgan County Sheriff's Office is losing a hefty chunk of cash, all because officials say people are no longer buying pistol permits.
WAAY-31's Nicole Zedek spoke to the sheriff to learn just how much money it's losing. Nicole.
Nicole, Marie, take a look at these numbers I got from the Morgan County Sheriff's Office spokesperson. Now, he looked at the difference between the first 4 months in 2021 versus the first 4 months in 2022. Now, in 2021, the Sheriff's Department, they sold 3,375 pistol permits, and that came out to about $183,000 in revenue. Now, that same time period here in 2022, only 2,005 pistol permits, and that difference, that amount, they only made about $76,000. So you can see the difference between this same 4-year month period. That's more than $100,000. And the sheriff, he expects that difference to only grow greater as the year goes on.
Everything we do administratively comes from the revenues that we generate from, or that is generated from the pistol permit sales.
The Morgan County Sheriff's Office fund began to take a hit when the House passed a bill getting rid of the concealed weapon permit come 2023. Even though a permit is still required this year, far fewer people have purchased one in 2022.
Revenue is down around 58%, and that revenue we use for administrative costs.
Pistol permit funds are more vital than most people realize.
We use that to outfit them. You know, they buy vests. That comes from that money. If we do any type of training with them, we buy them guns, we buy them phones, we buy them radios.
All of the gear and training for officers is from the Pistol Permit Fund, an account that is dwindling.
We depend on that revenue, almost $500,000 a year, to fund all the operations of this office.
Sheriff Ron Puckett says his department will still help all of those in need throughout Morgan County, but
to do it more efficiently and more professionally, we have to have money.
Now, the state is going to reimburse the sheriff's office come 2023 for all of the lack of sales from the pistol permit funds, but the amount that they reimburse, it's based off of this year's sales, and you can see there's more than a 50% lower than they have been in years past. So the sheriff is a little bit worried with how they're going to make up for that difference next year. Reporting live in Morgan County, Nicole Zedek, WAAY-31 News.
Thank you, Nicole. Now, the sheriff wants to remind you that permits are still required for the remainder of this year. Next year, when permits become voluntary, it could be a good idea to purchase one if you're traveling across state lines.
Hearings for the January 6th riot continue Thursday with new questions over whether there's a way for criminal referrals to begin after the hearings.
The FDA meeting today and tomorrow over the future of COVID-19 protection for children as young as 6 months old.
5:15 now. You're taking a live look at our nation's capital. This is where the congressional committee investigating the January 6th riot will hold its next meeting. The committee's next hearing is now set for Thursday. That's when we could learn more about the weeks leading up to January 6th. We could also learn more about an alleged pressure campaign by former President Trump to overturn the election results. Some committee members are now leaving the door open for potential criminal referrals.
When our hearings are complete, we'll have a conversation on next steps.
Even without a referral, the Justice Department can still bring criminal charges. Trump issued a 12-page statement last night calling the hearings a mockery of justice. We're now a week away from Alabama's primary election runoff. Tomorrow, Madison County elections officials will test the machines. Those machines will be used for next Tuesday's vote.
Now to Texas, where quick-thinking summer camp staffers saved children from a gunman. Police say a man started shooting inside a gym hosting a summer camp. It happened just outside of Dallas. No students or staff were hurt, and officials say camp counselors trained for these type scenarios. They acted quickly and moved kids to a safe area and locked the doors.
There was no hesitation whatsoever. As we're thankful for their training, that they do exactly what they're trained to do.
Police arrived 2 minutes after receiving calls and shot and killed the gunman. They're still working to determine a motive.
The FDA is meeting today and Wednesday over the new COVID-19 vaccines for kids as young as 6 months old. The emergency use authorization for both Pfizer and Moderna's new vaccine would finally get the youngest Americans protected from the virus. The FDA says both are considered safe for kids. The CDC says they'll decide if they agree with the FDA's decision should authorization be granted. The White House says children may begin seeing those vaccines next week if approved. Let's take a look now at COVID-19 hospitalization numbers across the Huntsville hospital system. There are currently 39 patients system-wide. Just over 20 of those patients are in Huntsville Hospital, Maine, and of the total, 6 are in the ICU with 2 on a ventilator.
More than 100 million Americans are facing a heat wave this week.
And while we're experiencing those high temperatures in North Alabama, Americans nationwide are facing their own extreme weather. In Chicago, a supercell thunderstorm passed through the area, leading all the way to Indiana. Meanwhile, Yellowstone National Park was forced to close due to flooding. Record rainfall also caused rock slides, with the Yellowstone River rising 6 feet and breaking a previous record set back in 1918.
We're now taking a live look around our coverage area with our Thompson Roofing and Construction Sky Camera Network. The first round of dangerous heat this summer locked in on the Tennessee Valley. Let's check in now with WAAY-31 meteorologist Rob Elvington.
He's over in the Storm Tracker Weather Center right now, keeping an eye on what we're seeing through the week.
Yeah.
Rob, is there any end in sight to this extreme heat?
You know, it's still going to be pretty warm here this weekend with highs in the low 90s, but at least the humidity will be dropping off some. So a little bit of relief this weekend before another heat wave moves in next weekend. Nikel, you just mentioned in the last couple of minutes about that big storm complex that moved through Chicago last night. There's actually a little bit of a connection here in Alabama. I'll talk more about that coming up in just a moment. But yeah, we're in the mid 90s right now at the 5 o'clock update. And we've seen those heat index values back above 100 today. Not as high as yesterday, but still we're talking from 11 a.m. all the way through 5 o'clock with values at or above 100, except for that 1 hour at 1 o'clock. Again, we were seeing values closer to 108 yesterday in Huntsville. And something I get very often, of course, this time of the year is, yeah, but this happens all the time. We get the heat and the humidity. Well, not necessarily. Yesterday, we had a peak heat index of 108 in Huntsville. That's at the Huntsville International Airport. If you go back over just the last 10 years, we have only seen 5 days with heat index values at or above 108. Of course, we have yesterday, but then you have to go all the way back to 2019. So it never happened in 2021 or 2020. And we hit actually 110 for a heat index in 2019. Same in 2019, the day before. And then if you go all the way back to 2016, again, just those 5 days in the last, let me do the math, 6 years. So again, it's not that often. Look at the WAAY-31 Storm Tracker Early Warning Radar Network. We are quiet right now. You'll notice these storms off to our south. And this is what I was talking about with Chicago. You got these storms that are moving to the west right now. But if we go back over the last 24 hours, watch the animation information. I'm going to step out of the way so you can see it. These big complexes of thunderstorms, we call these MCSs. This one developing closer to Chicago and then moving on the backside of our high, that clockwise flow. So you'll notice dropping down into Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, and then it's now racing into Alabama. So again, 24 hours ago, that storm complex now here in Alabama. So I'll keep a close eye on that through the next few hours. Should stay just off to our south. Look at this evening. Look at that. 81 degrees still at 11 o'clock. And I'll look at our feels like forecast. Still feels like the mid 90s here at 8 o'clock this evening. And then through the overnight hours, all the way into your Wednesday afternoon, we're starting to see those heat index values back up to 100. And we'll see those peak values closer to 103, 104, 105. And that's why we have that heat advisory in place again for your Wednesday. So there's a look at our peak values here through the next 5 days. Again, still at or above 105 all the way through Friday. There's that slight drop I was talking about for this weekend. Saturday and Sunday, it's going to feel more like the mid to upper 90s with actual temperatures down into the low 90s. But then we're tracking some bigger changes next week. Future radar, 8 o'clock this evening. Again, that storm complex staying just to our south. And then by tomorrow, you'll notice that we're dry all the way through about lunchtime. Then we're seeing a few pop-up showers and storms developing by 4 o'clock, nothing widespread. But just like today, we got to watch these thunderstorm complexes moving in from out of Georgia. That could bring some widespread rain by tomorrow evening. Just something we'll have to monitor through the entire next 24 hours. Rainfall forecast, not expecting much, maybe a trace to 1/4 of an inch. That's it. And look at the heat building in by Monday and Tuesday of next week. We're back up to 97 on Monday, 98 on Tuesday. A lot of data indicating we could hit 100 next week.
After the Mars rover recently adopted a pet rock, some scientists decided to join in on the fun.
And how a new research group will soon bring samples back from the red planet. At 5, NASA has a new research group that'll work to bring samples from Mars to Earth. It's partnering with the European Space Agency, Canada, and Japan for the new project. The new group of 16 will be the first of its kind to return samples from another planet.
Happy 247th birthday to the United States Army. Here's a look at the cake cutting ceremony on Redstone Arsenal. Founded in 1775, the Army is our oldest military branch. From all of us here at WAAY-31 to all soldiers, past and present, who've answered the call to defend America's freedom, we thank you for your service.
Again, we are still suffering through today's heat, still sitting in the low to mid 90s right now, but we're back up to the mid 90s again for your Wednesday afternoon. There is that chance for a few pop-up storms to the afternoon, but like today, got to watch those storms moving in from out of Georgia. Could see some of those surviving all the way through your Wednesday evening. And it's not just the air temperature, of course, we're talking the heat index, what it feels like back above 105 again for tomorrow. And it just continues through the end of the work week, and then a little bit of that break on Saturday and Sunday. And we're back up to the upper 90s by Monday and Tuesday.
For 24/7 coverage you can count on, local news, breaking news, and severe weather, just go to WAAY-TV.com.
Don't go anywhere. World News Tonight with David Muir starts in just a few minutes right here on WAAY-31.